Hello everyone, my name is CM Freeze, and this is a video that I have put off doing, and I don't really know why. I just graduated college. I could give you a bunch of reasons. Long story short though, I am just kind of lazy, but it is the Atlanta Falcons 2024-2025 NFL end of season review. Super Bowl was 3 weeks ago, and I have just not made this video, so I'm sorry it is late, but here it is from a diehard Atlanta Falcons fan, my full review of the 2024-2025 season. Now, I don't really know how to start off this video, but something that I do want to say is this. In my opinion, in the last 7 years, this is the most disappointing season I have ever witnessed. For those of you that don't know, the Atlanta Falcons have now missed the playoffs for 7 straight years, which is the second longest record in the NFL, only behind the New York Jets. The Atlanta Falcons also, for 7 consecutive seasons, have now not had a single season where they've had a winning record. This season they did have their best record, but they still were not over 500, finishing the season 8-9. As you guys can see here is a list of the previous Atlanta Falcons seasons. You can see all 7 of them here. Why do I say that this is the most disappointing season? Well, it's because we had the highest expectations coming into this year. This year, the Atlanta Falcons were supposed to win their division. This year, we were supposed to make the playoffs. The only other year where that was supposed to happen was probably 2018. So in 2018, we just come off back-to-back years making the playoffs. In 2017, we lost to the Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional round, and the Eagles went on to win the Super Bowl. That was the Nick Foles season. In 2028, the Atlanta Falcons played the Philadelphia Eagles to kick off the season. Last time we ever played in a game, the very first game of the season. And in that game, we lost for the entire year. Keanu O'Neal went down with a season-ending injury, our starting strong safety. Desmond Trufant went out with a season-ending injury, our starting corner 1. Deion Jones missed, I believe, 10 games with a long-term injury in that game as well. And our starting running back, Devontae Freeman, got injured as well. We had 4 starters go out for basically the entire year in one game. Literally, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. In the very first game of the season, we lost 4 starters to basically season-ending injuries. And at that point on, you're like, okay, the season's chalked. Because you can't replace that. You can't replace 4 starters who have been with the team the entire season. Regardless, the offense still played great, but the defense was just absolutely shot. Then in 2019, all those players that came back just weren't the same. Keanu O'Neal, Desmond Trufant, and Deion Jones just all were shells of their former selves and nothing like how they were in 2016 and 2017. Then obviously 2020 is the year that we traded Julio Jones. It was just a really bad year overall. The offense was still decent, but the defense was just trash. Then 2021, Matt Ryan had kind of just regressed at that point. The offense was still decent in 2021, but the defense was absolutely terrible. We honestly won more games than we should have that year. Matt Ryan led a couple of game-winning drives, but just the team just was done at that point. So we needed to completely rebuild, kind of just blow it up. And we knew that, so 2022 was a rebuild year, 2023 was continuing that rebuild, and then we went into this year, 2024, man, where the expectations were high. Like I said, we were supposed to win our division. We were supposed to be a playoff team this year. We were just a quarterback away, and we went out and got 2 quarterbacks, and we didn't even finish the season with a winning record. Something else that was really disappointing as well is we were 6-3 through 9 weeks. After week 9, 6-3, and then after starting the season 6-3, we finished the season 2-6. 2-6 to finish the season, man. Just absolutely abysmal. So I remember when we were 6-3, we had a 3-game lead in our division. 3-game lead on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then we go 2-6, blow the division, blow the playoffs. Don't even finish with a winning record after starting the season 6-3. So honestly, just a complete meltdown from the Atlanta Falcons, and just, like I said, the most disappointing season I have witnessed in the last 7 years. Something I have already talked about multiple times on this channel is how idiotic I think the Atlanta Falcons are for signing Kirk Cousins and drafting Michael Penix Jr. So this will probably be the last time I talk about it, at least in depth. But it is the 2024 season review, and it's something that did happen. In fact, it was one of the very first things that we did and completely shaped this season and now even future seasons as well. To start free agency, the Atlanta Falcons went out and got Kirk Cousins. They signed him to a 4-year, $100 million guaranteed contract. If you look at how the contract is structured, though, I believe it's either 80 or 90 of that guaranteed $1 million are in the first 2 years. So essentially, after the first 2 seasons, you can cut him in year 3 and save a ton of salary. So it realistically was just a 2-year fully guaranteed deal, and in the second 2 years, you can cut him and just save a crap ton of money. After the Atlanta Falcons went out and signed Kirk Cousins to such a big contract, most fans, myself included, are thinking, okay, we now got our quarterback. We also went out and signed Darnell Mooney to a 3-year deal. We have Kirk Cousins. We have a good offensive line. We have Bijan Robinson. Pitts is coming back. We have Drake London, and we have Darnell Mooney. The offense is set. We don't need to bolster our defense. Our defense has pieces, but our pass rush has been absolutely abysmal. We need an edge rusher. And in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons had the 8th overall pick, where there were a couple of premium edge rushers available. Because when the Atlanta Falcons were there at pick 8, it had been all offense. The first 7 picks of the draft were all offense. The Atlanta Falcons could select the best defender in the class. It didn't necessarily have to be an edge rusher. There were a couple of defensive backs available as well. But the big guys that really stood out was Leatu Latu, who the Falcons reportedly loved a lot. There was Jared Verse, and there was Dallas Turner. There was also a couple of defensive players as well, such as Quinyon Mitchell and Terrion Arnold. The Falcons could have gotten any defensive player that they wanted, and instead at pick 8, went with Michael Penix Jr., the 4th quarterback selected in the first round. I hated this immediately. I absolutely hated this for the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons said, we're doing exactly what the Green Bay Packers are doing, where we have our veteran quarterback, aka Aaron Rodgers, and drafting the guy of the future, aka Jordan Love. They're saying that's what we're doing. The Falcons seem to have missed something along the way. Aaron Rodgers was coming off an MVP season, where Aaron Rodgers has been with the Packers his entire career and already knows the system. And Jordan Love was selected, I believe, in pick 24, 25, in the late first round, where less premium players were off the board. Kirk Cousins had not spent a single season with the Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins was also coming off a season-ending Achilles injury. So it's not like the Atlanta Falcons already had Kirk Cousins established, who knew the playbook and knew the team. And it's not like he was coming off a big season-ending injury. I would have not had an issue with Michael Penix Jr. at all if theoretically Matt Ryan was still on the team, right? You had a former MVP, a proven veteran who was not coming off a season-ending injury and who already knew the playbook, who he could take the rookie quarterback under his wing for a year or two, teach him the playbook, teach him the scheme, and teach him how to be a good quarterback in the NFL. Kirk Cousins made it abundantly clear he was not going to teach this new guy. He was coming in to compete. Kirk Cousins just signed a 4-year, $100 million guaranteed contract. If you're the Atlanta Falcons, you do one of two things. You either sign Kirk Cousins to that contract, and then at pick 8, draft someone that can help him either offensively or defensively. Like I said, Leatu Latu, Jared Verse, right there. Or, if you want to go the route of the rookie quarterback, draft Michael Penix Jr. at 8. But then with that $100 million guaranteed you just gave Kirk Cousins, you can actually build a team around Michael Penix Jr. There were a ton of good edge rushers in this year's free agency class. I most specifically think of Christian Wilkinson, the defensive tackle from the Miami Dolphins that went to the Las Vegas Raiders. There was Danielle Hunter, who went to the Houston Texans, who played for the Minnesota Vikings. There was Chase Young as well. These are just guys I can think of off the top of my head. I know there was obviously plenty of more free agents. So that's what you either do. You either draft the rookie quarterback and then spend all that money to build a team around him, or you spend all that money on a quarterback and draft a young player to help your team for the future. You do not do both, because somewhere along the lines you are going to screw yourself. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now with the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, I understand what their thought process was and what their mindset was. They're saying, oh, our roster is good enough to make a playoff run. Kirk Cousins will be our quarterback of the future and start for at least 2 seasons. Because with how much money they gave him, they fully intended for Kirk Cousins to be the starter for 2 seasons. That's how the contract was. In no realm did they want what's happening now, where Kirk Cousins is sitting on the bench and costing $45 million in their cap space. That is not what they wanted. For $45 million guaranteed of their cap to be doing absolutely nothing on the bench. They wanted him to be the starter for 2 years. Have Michael Penix Jr. sit for 2 years, learn the playbook, learn Zach Robinson's scheme, and then he becomes the starter after those first 2 years. Guess what? Kirk Cousins looked like crap. At times, Kirk Cousins looked great, but at other times, Kirk Cousins looked like absolute horse manure. And especially towards the end of the season, Kirk Cousins just was unplayable. He was that god-awful that you had to get him off the field, and they put in Michael Penix Jr. So what we're seeing now is Michael Penix Jr. starting 2 years earlier than the Falcons wanted him to, and they don't have an extra $45 million to help support him. So now in this 2025 upcoming NFL season, that's $45 million we are missing out on. $45 million that will not be able to go help support Michael Penix Jr. We have basically no cap, and I'll get into that coming later. We're still talking about the 2024 season here. The Falcons banked that Kirk Cousins and Darnell Mooney was all they needed, and that their team would just play great. And that's not what happened at all. If we come back and look at how the Falcons have done in previous years, offensively, the team actually did pretty good. We were pretty good in terms of yards, and in points, we were above average. We scored the 13 most points in all of the NFL, which, like I said, is above average and pretty good, almost scoring 400 points. However, defensively, we had a bottom 10 defense. Our defense regressed. Look at how our defense was last year. We allowed 50 more points, and we allowed a lot more yards than we did last year. Our defense took a massive step back. So while our offense, yes, improved, our defense stepped back. The Atlanta Falcons, oh my God, maybe, just maybe, we could have, taken Jared Verse or Laiatu Latu at pick 8. Laiatu Latu and Jared Verse both had phenomenal seasons. Jared Verse won Defensive Rookie of the Year, and Laiatu Latu, even though he barely started, he still got 4 sacks, forced, 3 fumbles, had a couple of tackles for loss. If Laiatu Latu and Jared Verse continue to develop how they played this season, they're going to be franchise edge rushers of the future. And I would argue that edge rusher is the second most important position behind quarterback. So the Atlanta Falcons right now could have a potential franchise edge rusher in Jared Verse or Laiatu Latu on their team. They don't. They didn't have anyone to help their defense, and their pass rush was absolutely abysmal this year. Yes, it got better the second half of the season, but still, it was just abysmal. And now we don't really have any young pass rushers. We still have Arnold Ebiketie, but now he's going into year 4, and I think he's okay, right? Arnold Ebiketie has looked decent, but he's not a premium pass rusher. Jared Verse this season looked better than Arnold Ebiketie has looked in his entire 3 years. I mean, it's just the simple facts, man, that we right now could have an edge rusher of the future on our team, but instead we decided to double dip at quarterback, and it was just absolutely abysmal. Yes, Michael Penix Jr. looked good the last 3 games of the season. I'm not going to deny that. Michael Penix Jr. showed flashes. He has a monster arm. Michael Penix Jr. looked good the last 3 games of the season. If you look at these last 3 games here, they played the New York Giants, the Washington Commanders, and the Carolina Panthers. These 3 teams have 3 of the worst defenses in the NFL. So yes, Michael Penix Jr. looked good, but he looked good against really, really bad defenses. Also, while Michael Penix Jr. might have been a good draft pick, the rest of our draft was absolutely horrendous. Nobody else really did anything at all for our draft. Rukororo, our second round pick, was the only person that saw any playing time as well, and he basically did nothing. Rukororo had 0 sacks and 1 tackle for loss. I think he had 1 good play all year, and it was that tackle for loss. I remember it. I think it was in the Commanders game. That's about it. Our second round pick did absolutely nothing. Our draft class did literally nothing, except Michael Penix Jr. the last 3 weeks. So we basically pissed away a draft class. So in this season, we pissed away a draft class. We pissed away $100 million guaranteed. We didn't even have a winning season. We didn't even make the playoffs. We didn't even win our division. Do you see where I'm getting at here? The only positive thing about this season at all is Michael Penix Jr. and our young offensive pieces continuing to develop. Bijan Robinson took another step up, and Drake London took another step up. Outside of Michael Penix Jr., Bijan Robinson, and Drake London, there's not that much to be excited for about this team. AJ Terrell played good as well, but I guess that's about it. Jesse Bates also played good too, but we signed him to a 4-year contract, and he's played great for us the last 2 seasons, and we're pissing away his performance as well. Our offensive line still played good, I guess, but they're also just kind of getting older too. Our center, Drew Dahlman, is a free agent this year, and I really hope we re-sign him, but he could be worth a lot of money. And guess what? We might not be able to re-sign him because we gave Kirk Cousins $45 million guaranteed. You see, the season had some good things about it, but I would say it was mostly negative. I made a video at the start of the year predicting what I thought the Atlanta Falcons would do, and I said that they were either going to go 9-8 or 10-7. I at least thought that we were going to have a winning record. I didn't know about playoffs, but I at least thought we were going to have a winning record. We couldn't even do that. We didn't even have a winning record, man. The Carolina Panthers in the very last week of the season dropped 44 on us. The Carolina Panthers dropped 44 on our defense. Like I said, we looked great to start the season. Kirk Cousins looked terrible against the Steelers week 1, but we beat the Philadelphia Eagles. We rolled in our division. Absolutely destroyed. We beat the Bucks, Saints, Panthers, Cowboys. Almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs. We looked great through these first 9 weeks. And then it just went all downhill from there. And there's been rumors that Kirk Cousins actually got hurt during the Saints game. In fact, Kirk Cousins himself came out and said that he got hurt during that New Orleans Saints game. And so if that's the case, something had to give, right? Did our trainers not realize Kirk Cousins was hurt? Who really knows what happened? That's a different video for a different day. But regardless, 6-3 to finish the season, 2-6 is just abysmal. We were just so bad at the end of the year, especially having just a really good start to the season. The last thing I want to talk about is how this 2024 season has really, really screwed us for the 2025 season, in both terms of salary cap and draft. Let's start with the salary cap first, because free agency is what happens first. Now, at least in terms of free agents, there's only one big guy that we have to re-sign, our center, Drew Dahlman. He's the only free agent that we really need to re-sign from our team. However, like I said, Kirk Cousins is costing us a lot of money. And even if we cut Kirk Cousins, it saves us $0. Kirk Cousins does absolutely nothing for our salary cap. So if we keep him on the team, it's still $40 million down the drain. If we cut him, it's still $40 million guaranteed going to his bank. Kirk Cousins is getting $40 million from us no matter what we do. So even if we cut him, we don't save a dime. $40 million of our salary cap is going towards Kirk Cousins. And even though the salary cap, I believe now is, what do they say the salary cap is? It's like $280 million now. We're still over the salary cap. I believe we have the 6th worst salary cap in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. And I know a lot of people say, oh, the salary cap is just a myth. Here's something I don't want to do. I don't want us to keep pushing back money, because that's what we've done in the past. In the past, we constantly have pushed back Jake Matthews' contract. We constantly pushed back Matt Ryan's contract to try to win now. And guess what? We never won now. We constantly signed bad free agent signing after bad free agency signing. The only good free agent that we've signed in a really long time has been Jesse Bates. I guess Darnell Mooney was pretty good for us this season too, but I just don't want us to keep on pushing back money. I really don't. So while yes, we could push back money and get us anywhere in between about $30 million in cap space positive, are we saying that 1 or 2 free agent signings are going to fix this team? No, we also need to get young, good talent as well. And where do you get young, good talent? In the draft. And guess what? We have completely milked our draft stock for the season. Look at our draft picks. We also have another 7th round pick in there as well. It just hasn't been determined which draft pick it's going to be yet, but we have another 7th round pick. So, we have pick 15, pick 46, pick 117, and then 2 7th round picks. The 7th round picks don't really matter. Yes, theoretically you could draft someone. It's very rare that in the 7th round you actually get someone. You know what? Maybe we do, right? But we have 5 draft picks this year. Pick 15, pick 46, and then pick 117. And then 2 7ths. We basically have no draft picks because we traded a 3rd away for Matthew Judon, who's probably not coming back. So we traded a 3rd round pick for an edge rusher who's probably not coming back on the team and only gave us about 5 sacks. And then we lost our 5th round pick for Kirk Cousins to even sign him in the first place. So just this season, man, we destroyed our cap. Or I shouldn't say destroyed, but we really hurt our cap. We really hurt our draft stock. We've just set ourselves up for such a bad position for 2025 that I don't think we're going to make the playoffs. I'm really curious to see what we do. We need to get younger. We need to. We can't go trade away these picks. I mean, if we're smart, I think maybe we trade back in the 1st round, trade back in the 2nd round. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see what we do because we are over the cap right now and we only have 5 draft picks and 2 of them are in the 7th round, so it's not like they even really matter. So we only have 3 picks that are significant at all. No cap, no draft. The 2024 season has really put us in a very bad spot for the 2025 season. So that's just another disappointing thing about it. So just to wrap this video up, I don't want it to be crazy long. I could go in depth about the Falcons for 2 hours if I really wanted to. But we started off the season terribly by signing Kirk Cousins to $100 million guaranteed and using the 8th overall pick on Michael Penix Jr. We screwed ourselves in one way or the other, even by screwing our cap stock or not letting us get a premium defensive player of the future. We've now done both of those things. Yes, now we have Michael Penix Jr., who hopefully is the franchise quarterback of the future, but that's not a guaranteed as well. We're over the salary cap to start the season with the 6th lowest cap in the league. Our defense is garbage, and we don't really have that many draft picks to get younger at the defense. Pick 15 and pick 46 are going to be the only guys that we get that are immediate starters. Some of our best players defensively, Grady Jarrett, he's only getting older. Jesse Bates is only getting older. AJ Terrell's only getting older. Yes, the positives is our young offensive core. We have some really good young offensive players. But besides that, that's the only really thing that I'm excited for in this 2025 season. I don't think we make the playoffs in 2025. Obviously, things can change, but we don't have cap. We barely have any picks. Even when Michael Penix Jr. played good last season, he still went 1-2 because our defense was atrocious. So we'll really have to see what happens, man. So we'll really have to see. If there's anything else you want me to talk about for the Atlanta Falcons, please let me know in the comments down below. Just a disappointing season. Really disappointing seasons. A couple of highs, but more lows than highs. Another disappointing season for the Atlanta Falcons. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, please leave comments down below on content that you guys want to see or how I can improve my videos for you guys, and peace out.